All right, Dave, you're going to welcome it or what?
Hey, man, I didn't know what you were doing. I see that this is Drive Safe Dave live on BCB, and it is a beautiful Wednesday morning. We got Rick
I
running
knew you
remote.
were going to say that. It's always a beautiful Wednesday morning when Drive Safe Dave starts it off. That's
Why
what
is
I
it
like
always
about
a
a Drive
beautiful
Safe
Wednesday?
Dave.
Could be raining.
Every day. Well, but you always start with it's a beautiful day, so I like that part. Hey, let me tell you something. So in Chicago, doing going through a conference up here in Chicago this week, and land yesterday. We get up here, and let me tell you, we've got some taxi drivers that need a little bit of BCB Live. They're all over the place. I mean, there was tailgating going on, there was in and out moving, everything going on. These guys have no safety sense
No,
whatsoever. You want to know about an industry that needs some help with their image?
I'm telling you, I will totally concur with that. My experience in New York City with cab drivers, bar none, a whole new set of rules, a whole new set of different rules. Don't use the same rules we use, whether it be traffic, people on the roads. They love their horn. They love. Did you get any horn action yesterday?
No, we're in Chicago. No horns going on here, but no seat belts going on either. Just like they just get in there, no seat belt, and the thing's beeping at them, and I'm like, holy cow! And it was nuts. And even another one last night. We're coming home with in an Uber, not a taxi, and the driver misses his turn, goes down the wrong way, and says, "Oh man, I apologize. I'm fatigued. I have another job." He's a like ready route or something like that during the day shift, and it talks about fatigue, Drive Safe Dave, and it makes me just think about our drivers fatigue even inside the city, driving home, doing what we do here. Here it is right now. The guy's going home. He decides he needs to get some more money. He turns his Uber on, works a little bit, makes a wrong turn in the wrong lane with passengers in his vehicle, and boy, it's scary to think about fatigue, right? What fatigue does to you and to our drivers out there on the highway.
I'll tell you, I've had an opportunity to be tired on the road, and it will eliminate a lot of you can make some really bad choices and do a lot of bad things when it comes to being tired. And you know what, it's cool that you had an opportunity to see it firsthand. The doing work.
What's so cool? It's pretty cool that Rick, we almost lost you yesterday. It's pretty cool that you got to be an experiment in fatigue driving and the effects on passengers. No, Drive Safe Dave, it's not that cool, and I'm not glad I got to experience. As a matter of fact, I don't want you. I mean, that's like, what do you do with a driver when he comes in and he's fatigue driving? I'm glad you got that experience. I'm glad you got that chance to jackknife. No, our job is to avoid accidents, avoid situations like this. It's not to encourage it and say, man, I'm glad you got that chance to almost die. Hey, Drive Safe Dave. Yesterday, Omar Sharif, right? He's the founder of Inflation Insights. I want to think about this or talk a little bit about this, because we spend a lot of time talking inflation. And here he goes. He goes, it looks like some of these supply chain and inventory challenges are going to stick with us a bit longer. Is that a shocker? I mean, does that make news? Whose news does this make? I mean, this has been out forever. I mean, watch BCB Live, Omar. Well, you could have announced this news months ago.
And you speak of the inflation, and I was watching a really great interview last night with the Secretary of Treasury on CBS, and made some great points about how this may be transitory in pricing and everything, but how the American economy over the last year has shifted from services to basically goods due to a fear of not having what you need or not having what you want. And it moved away from the service sector and into the goods sector. And that's where a lot of this money has gone into and directed. And that's why we feel a lot of these supply chains, because even a small percentage swing makes a huge difference.
Hey, Drive Safe, I know you're our White House insider. I'm going to ask you the transitory word, right? I want you to explain what that means. Hey, I'm gonna give you a second to think about that, and for the rest of you, hey, listen, we have a great interview coming up with Waymo as we talk a little bit about the technology behind that. It's coming on right at 7:08, 7:09. It's about an 18, 19-minute pre-recorded interview done yesterday with Drive Safe Dave and Dylan. We're excited to share some of this technology with you. I think you're going to love this interview as well. But Drive Safe Dave, going back to the transitory inflation, what does that mean?
Well, it means that it is not, it's not static, that it is moving forward, and that it may or may not be this high in as it settles itself, and some of these bottlenecks find their ways and find their solution, that some of these prices may level off and go down just a little bit, and they won't stay as high as they will, much like oil and things that we react accordingly, how they spike when there's a shortage, and then goes back down when there's an oversupply. So basically she was just speaking to how the prices, how they're going up now, they may continue, they may go down when some of these supply chains are fixed.
Gotcha, and that's obvious. That's the big challenge, right? When does that happen? When does this supply mess get adjusted? When do we ever get caught up? And I don't know if we have a good answer to that. I'm going to go out there again. I'm going to say we're 12 months away from anything kind of moving back into normal. Drive Safe Dave, we think about the amount of freight that's out there. We think about the shipments. We think about, well, you know what? How come we just don't bring in more drivers? And the issue isn't just the driver shortage right now. We think about that as well. The issue is getting the equipment, right? I mean, we can't go out and get that extra truck, the extra 15 trucks. We can't even get trailers today. The trailers that we're going to get, understand, they're going to cost 50% more than they did a year and a half ago. That's drive-ins, that's reefers. And when you talk about inflation, well, when you spend 50% more on a tractor, or I'm sorry, on a trailer, it's that number has to be made up over the next 5 to 7 years. So that number, the pricing doesn't go down anytime soon, because you've just invested that much additional money that you've got to get compensated for. So I don't know when, again, we think about time frames. We're 12 months out. Drive Safe, I know we have we got to talk a little bit on this Waymo, and ready to get on this interview. Hey, where are we at with days driving safe out there today?
We're at 148 days of preventable accidents, and we are at 33. Get out and look. Both records continue to grow. Both records demonstrating the work being done out there on the road, out there in the truck, making sure that these things continue to be successful. And I'll tell you, 33, I mean, that is a fantastic number, moving solidly into the second month of no backing accident. And with the frequency of the backing accidents, this right here demonstrates that it can be done, that it can be changed, and that the people that change it are the people that actually get out there and look every single
Yes, sir. Great. And just a great segue into, now we're going to talk a little bit about Waymo as we move into this interview. Drive Safe Dave. Hey, before we get to the interview, hey, talk to me a little bit. What were some of your and producer you as well? Hey, give me some feedback on going into this interview. Is how was he? The gentleman giving you the interview, was he open to it? How was the mood during this interview with a tech company like that?
I was really surprised at his excitement and his willingness to talk about his product, willingness to talk about what he was doing. You could tell that not only did he speak well about his product, but he was really passionate about what he's doing and about what they're doing and about what they're going on, and the successes. He mentioned many times his successes and the successes that Waymo is doing across the country, and he even brought up some interesting things that we didn't even know about, right, producer?
Yeah, excuse me. So what I thought was pretty interesting, which we'll hear about here in a second once we get to the interview, a lot of their routes are very similar to what we do here in the DFW area. They actually have a plant here in Dallas and run routes through that, and that's where a lot of their testing has been done. He was very articulate about the way he was talking about the technology. Very obviously somebody who's worked on some of this technology and does a good job of breaking it down and making it easier for people who aren't involved in all of that engineering to kind of understand what's going on in the world of automation. So I think it's a pretty easy to understand interview, and it provides a lot of helpful information about some of the things that we've talked about in the past, maybe some of the hesitations we've had towards some of this automated technology. I think he addresses some of that. I don't know how we'll feel afterwards, but I thought he did a good job of breaking it down.
Hey, producer, some of these engineers or the people behind Waymo, do they have any experience, or have they been in a tractor today or a trailer, anything like that?
So, and again, not to spoil the interview too hard, but he did mention that they do ride-alongs all the time. Like, all the engineers do sit in these trucks while it's going on, and they're taking notes and sending reports back to the main office. So they're putting themselves in the line of the truck.
Actually, two of them in the truck at all times, Rick, and it's pretty interesting. I didn't know that, and not only do they have the CDL holder behind the wheel, but they also have the engineer in the co-pilot seat, and they're running down, making notes, looking at bicyclists on the side of the road or whatever they run into, however that it will react. They're sending in messages and identifying new problems and then working out those solutions back at the home office and trying to make it a better product. Very interesting. I can't wait for you to see the article.
All right, I got the popcorn popped. I'm ready for the show.
Hi, everybody. It's Drive Safe Dave here with another great interview and some exciting new technology. We have somebody from Waymo coming in. Pablo, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and what it is you do?
Thanks so much, Dave, and it's great to be here on the show. Hi, everybody. I'm Pablo Abad. I'm a product manager for Waymo Trucking. Waymo is a company that's spun out of Google and is focused on developing autonomous driving technology. So we build the hardware, the software that enables trucks and cars to drive themselves. In my role, I lead product behavior for trucking. Behavior means that we basically focus on all the things that let the truck, the autonomous driver, figure out how other agents are going to drive in the environment and how we're going to plan trajectories. We're going to drive safely in that environment too.
And I'll tell you, and we do that without thinking about it, and you're doing it in a computer brain and everything. But so let's talk a little bit about your product. I'll tell you, we've seen some of your trucks on the road. We've even actually videoed some of our drivers have walked by the truck stop, kind of getting this moonstruck, this NASA-looking truck. I'm going to go out on a limb, and here it is. What's with all the spinning things, and what's with all the, kind of give us a rundown of what's happening on that tractor to make it look like that outer space ship.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. I'll take NASA looking any day. I think that's a great compliment. Thank you so much. So if you see our trucks on the highway, and we operate primarily in the southwestern states, so we have operation centers in Arizona and also in Dallas, Texas. And so you might see us on the I-10, the I-20, or the I-45 in those regions. And if you take a look at our tractors, you'll see a lot of different sensors. You'll see primarily a couple big domes on the left and the right side of the truck. And those are our vision systems. Inside of our vision systems, we have cameras, which can detect very long distances, just kind of regular cameras that you might have that you're kind of familiar with. They can take pictures for very far away. They help us detect color and help us figure out what the environment looks like. You'll also see a lot of the spinning sensors. That's probably the ones that you notice first right off the bat. And so those spinning sensors, those are called Lidar sensors. Lidar is short for light detection and ranging. It's just a really awesome technology. And basically what happens is it sends light pulses out in all directions on that spinning sensor. And by doing that, it creates a 3D picture of the environment, basically detecting how long it takes for the light to go out and then to come back. So by doing that measurement, 360 degrees, spinning around, you create a 3D map of the world around it, see what's happening. And on top of all of that, we also have radar, which you're probably familiar with. And so radar allows us to detect the distance and the speed of other objects that are on the roadway.
I have a real quick question. Are you using like X band or Y band or what kind are you using? Because I don't know if my radar, my little escort radar detector will be going off anytime if I get near one of these trucks.
No, it shouldn't affect any of your detectors on your trucks. We've tested this on the freeway. We've already got 20 million miles of autonomous driving on the roadway.
Wow.
We've also driven 20 billion miles in simulation. All of this goes into training our computer, our algorithms, to create what we hope is the most advanced driving system on the planet.
So I've got to ask, after hearing all of that and the way that it's detecting light to create a map of the world around it, so are there certain things that the sensors are looking out for whenever they're out there on the road? Things such as pedestrians or road signs and anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we detect all of that. So we're looking out for pedestrians in particular, what we call vulnerable road users, so people that might be more at risk or driving on the freeway. We take safety, of course, as our primary concern. So we're always looking out for construction workers, even sometimes bicyclists, which you might not think you'll see on the highway, but we see sometimes our fair share of bicyclists on the freeway. But on top of all that, we're looking for things like road conditions, even, or construction signs, or exit only lanes, other vehicles, so motorcycles, trucks, regular sedans, things like that. Like, we're detecting all of that. And our main Lidar sensor on the top of our truck that's getting the 3D images, that can detect up to 3 football fields away. So 300 yards away, seeing or generating a 3D view of the world around it, that we can detect very early and anticipate those scenarios so that we can either brake or change lanes, anticipation of avoiding dangerous situations.
And that's very interesting that you talk about that. And as I was thinking about it, and we were sitting around and discussing it, and as you look out there, and it makes those intuitive decisions about what's going on around it and slowing down. What definite challenges are you running into that make it a little bit different? Like some for me would be a hand signal from a police officer as opposed to a sign, right? Or somebody just waving and or what have you. When there's also other intuitive things like black ice out on the road in the distance, or what other type of intuitive challenges are you facing with this AI?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dave. Thank you for that. So Waymo has been around since 2009. So we've been developing this technology for a long time. We've been training it on all sorts of situations that we encounter on the roadway. Before I get to answering your question, I will say that we have successfully launched a fully autonomous ride-hailing service in Phoenix, Arizona. And so today, if you wanted to, you could fly to Phoenix, download the app, and take a ride in a Waymo car, just like you would call an Uber or a taxi. And a fully autonomous car would come pick you up, drop you off at your destination. So with no driver in the driver's seat. And so that is all to say that we have a lot of experience developing this technology. We've seen a lot of really interesting situations, whether it be construction zones or workers directing traffic, like you mentioned, or police directing traffic. And so all of that kind of comes into play into our system. And so developing our system to detect hand gestures for people directing traffic, or even like kids in a school in a school truck, in a school car, that are doing the hand signal to like honk the horn, for example. Those are all things that we are planning on detecting and being able to react to, because it's all part of driving on the freeway.
I like to know that would be a big signal, and not get taken away that part of the thrill of the ride. And I guess one of the things that we've talked about, and one of the things that we're interested in understanding, is who's going to own this technology insurance world, right? I mean, let's be honest with what's going on. As safety is paramount in the success of the trucking industry, where does before it's always been the driver and the carrier, but now we're talking about a new AI that has to make the decision on what it's going to do out there. And sometimes, no matter the decision you make, it will have a difficult outcome, right? I mean, you and I both understand that as we move forward through this, there's going to be some sort of litigation, and who owns that part?
Yeah, that's another great question, Dave. Thank you. So at Waymo, we are focused on developing the hardware and the software technology. So we are very much a technology company, and our focus is on applying that technology to the to the fleets themselves while partnering with the OEMs and the tier 1 suppliers. So what we do is we provide the technology and we develop the technology, and we let those fleets do what they do best, right? Which is manage shipping and carry the deliveries for their customers. And safety has always been paramount at Waymo. And so one of the big motivators behind the whole company, behind the technology, is the fact that every year 1.3 million people die from car accidents. And it's just a very tragic statistic, unfortunately. But that's something that we're focused on cutting into, something that we think our technology can really help decrease substantially. Now, not only that, but 1 out of every 7 traffic fatalities in the U.S. involves heavy-duty trucks. And so we have both our ride-hailing product. We also have our trucking product. We think that both of them together will do a lot, make a dent in those tragic accidents that happen every year. You know, going back to the litigation, to the cost of this too, like there's also an economic incentive to do this, right? So the FMCSA estimates that truck crashes cost $30 billion every year in the United States. And as these accidents have increased, so has litigation. And over the last 10 years, commercial trucking insurance rates have skyrocketed as a result, with commercial fleets seeing anywhere from 100 to 300% rate increases. So our goal is to build all of our safety advances in technology to reduce these fatalities, reduce the economic burden, and make just driving on the freeway, driving on the roadways, a much safer place to be.
And you mentioned driving on the roadways and driving on the freeways. So a question that I had thought of was, what kind of roadways are you guys testing these on? I know that straightaway roads typically are a little bit easier to drive as opposed to windy roads like we see up near Colorado or in the mountainous areas of the United States. Have you guys tested this technology in those windy roads, or has it been mainly on freeways and highways here in metropolitan areas?
Yeah. We've tested our Waymo Driver, what we call our autonomous driving system, all over the country in 10 states. So like Michigan, Las Vegas, even Death Valley. We primarily operate, as I mentioned, in Arizona and Texas, and we have our headquarters in California. So we do a lot of driving in those particular states. And for the trucking product in particular, we're focused on the southwestern states. So that's primarily Arizona, Mexico, and Texas. And we do that because there are very favorable weather conditions in that region. So that allows us to test 365, 24/7 pretty much. And you still have to watch out for inclement weather, so like rain, storms, things like that. But driving in those states is a lot easier for us to do. That's why we're primarily targeting those states. But I will say, to answer your question, so we can drive, on curvy roads, we can drive on straight roads. And what you'll see is that, like I said before, primarily on the I-10, the I-20, the I-45, and navigating on those roadways, because that's where we see a lot of the great weather conditions. And a lot of the big shipping lanes too, as you probably are familiar with. The big hubs are in Dallas, in Houston, and at LA to Atlanta corridor.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in trucking, you understand that, and also that is, without question, it's got the nice straight roads. You run out there, West Texas, you're going a long ways. I mean, it's closer to El Paso's closer to California than it is to Dallas. So. And we understand full well the implications of that, and understand why you would run those, because that's a great way. Once you get going, you just keep going, and not limited to the hours of service rules and stuff like that. When our drivers see your ride share, like you have on board, you have a Waymo driver, right, along with the unit, the autonomous system. Is that an engineer, or is that a CDL holder, or is that I understand they are CDL holders, but are they engineers by any imagination? Are they truck drivers, or do they just make up a wide range of?
Yeah. So today, or I should say rather, that our goal at Waymo is to develop the autonomous L4 technology. So L4 is a level of autonomy. It basically means that there's no one in the driver's seat. Ultimately, that is our goal. Today, we still operate with what we call 2 autonomous specialists in the truck itself. And so our autonomous specialists basically include a CDL operator who sits in the driver's seat, and also a software technician who sits in the passenger seat. And so the software technician basically monitors a laptop, can enter comments and hashtags that sends all that data back to our development team, that we can then look at that data and further improve Waymo Driver for weird scenarios or interesting scenarios that we might encounter on the roadway. So, for example, like you encounter a bicyclist, say, like bicyclist, I saw a bicyclist on the freeway. Take a look at this. We can use that data to then improve the Waymo Driver in the future. And then our CDL operator, it's in the driver's seat, is monitoring the Waymo Driver and prepared to take over in case he needs to at any point.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And the only reason I ask that is I think when we see these guys out there, how open are they to talk about their trucks? Because I can tell you right now, everybody that I know, when you talk to a driver's okay with talking about his truck. It doesn't matter whatever truck he's driving. He's usually good about discussing it and going over it. Are these guys open also to conversation out there on the road? Say, hey, look, maybe point some things out if we do bump into them, at a truck stop or in a refuel area or out there on the way or wherever it is they are.
Yeah, absolutely, Dave. Yeah, in fact, we love it. And I've been on ride-alongs in Dallas, Texas, where, we stopped at a truck stop or to get gas. And we always get some interesting looks from people like that. That's interesting. I've never seen a truck like that before with all these spinning sensors and these cameras and the radar. And so we love it when people come and talk to us and ask us about the truck. More than happy to answer questions. What it is, what we're trying to do. We're very open to it, and we really engage with other truck drivers. We love it because we love kind of seeing the feedback and the interesting questions that people have.
Well, and I just want to tell you, exciting information. It is the way of the future. It's coming. There's no holding it back, and we're excited to get to know you and for you to come on the show and share with other drivers around the country about how it's going about and what's taking place. And I know you can't really answer this one question, but how much is one of those trucks going to eventually cost? I really would like to know that. I have no idea, but I really would be interested to know. I'm sure it's a good, nice price tag, but really, where are we with that? And I know you don't really do timelines or anything, but if you could step outside the box, off the record, what kind of, where you think you might be? Because I know inside your heart, you're going to say, man, in 10 years, we're locking down. 5 years, we're locking down. I'm just saying, you got something going on in here, right? Not necessarily up here, but in here.
Yeah, that's funny, Dave. You said NASA-like at the beginning. I guess I'll say that, we're NASA-like, but we're going to be cheaper than a price on a rocket to the moon, at least. I think I could say that. But I can't give specifics in terms of the price at this time, but it's a great question. But I think, exploring that relationship with fleets in terms of kind of what they're willing, what makes sense for them to pay, I think we'll figure out the right price in this particular market. And in terms of timeline too, we've heard some people say, a decade, 2 decades longer. Sometimes people in the industry think that we're that kind of far away. We like to remind people that autonomous driving is available today. We are the only company that's currently offering a ride-hailing service in Phoenix, fully autonomous, and we're now translating that to the trucking side. And while I can't give specific timelines, it's not going to be. We don't think it's going to be decades away. We think it's going to be sooner than that.
Well, I'm excited for you, and I hope all the best, man. It's great information, great technology, very interesting, and you know what? It is something that we all need to understand, get to know, so that it's not a mystery. When you're driving down the road and then someday you're going to look over and you're not going to see somebody behind the wheel, it's going to be a little bit different feel. And as long as we're educated on that, of what's going on and how it's happening, then I think it'll all be for the better as far as we all know there's plenty of room to share the road. And I appreciate it when you come on. Pablo, thanks for your information and thanks for all the stuff that you brought to the table. If in the future we see y'all out here in Dallas and we get an opportunity, you mind if we stop by your station and maybe do a local or even bring one of your Waymo trucks over here to the terminal and have a look at it, man? We sure would like to be involved in what y'all are doing and understanding out there for the driving community to be accepted. Well,
yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun, Dave. I look forward to that. I look forward to seeing you in Dallas and maybe getting some barbecue together. It could be a lot of fun.
All right, we appreciate it. And thanks so much for joining us today, and we'll see you soon and talk. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Hey, what a great interview Pablo was. He was a fantastic guy to talk to. very interesting, but well spoken, and did a great job. And it is nice to know some of the things that he brought to the table. A lot of stuff I didn't know that he talked about and made aware of. Hey, Sir Rick, what do you think of the interview?
Nah, I thought, yeah, there's some great conversation in there. I mean, shocking, right? 20 million miles already being under their belt. That's a lot of miles. I mean, 20 million miles under the belt. Have many more millions to go before we're quite there. Hey, producer, what'd you think about Drive Safe Dave getting him off the record while he's doing an interview? Can you give me, kind of off the record? And we're in the middle of an interview.
I was like, oh, yeah, off record on a recorded interview, huh? That's how this is going to work.
Hey, I'm trying to get some insight here. I'm trying to make this happen for everybody. There's no reason why I can't go for broke, right?
Yeah, and I will say too, he kind of sidestepped the litigation question, talking about who's going to own that piece. He brought up the fact they're a AI company and kind of went all over the place, but didn't hear that piece. I do think that's a legit concern, right? I mean, who really is going to own that litigation piece? Who's going to own that? Because we don't want it. And I don't know anybody who wants it. I did like his point where I think he's trying to say that what we do believe is that we're going to have less accidents. If there's less accidents, there's less opportunity for litigation. But that's many, many years down the road before any of that happens. And all it takes is one accident, right? One accident. It was neat to hear how they're seeing 3 football fields out and making decisions. And it made me think about Drive Safe Dave. I mean, the technology on the safety side, the advantage that they have today is if we just think about the Smith system. Well, they have one person per se doing each of those things. One person looking out ahead, one person looking down the side, one person doing everything that we have to do as one human driving this truck. Well, their technology is doing all that at once and making the best decision possible. Just some great insight on that Waymo, the intelligence behind it and what it's going to do, and he wasn't. He mentioned that that they're doing it today, and I think it was a great point from their perspective to say, hey, it's happening already. I mean, you go to Phoenix, Arizona, you're gonna get into a Waymo vehicle that's a totally autonomous. I thought that was he did a great job on just referring back to that. Hey guys, listen, it's going on right now. Hey, Drive Safe Dave, I know it's getting close to Buckle Up Bob, and he's probably in there antsy looking at you and walking around. Give us that phrase that pays, and then we'll move into Buckle Up Bob.
All right. Don't be trashy. Keep it classy. Be the driver people admire. Don't be trashy. Keep it classy. Be the driver people admire.
You're watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. BCB Live covers freight. Here we are now at 21% of record freight being rejected. News over the UK, they have the Army personnel getting ready to start driving the fuel truck. Weather, traffic.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to some traffic and weather with Buckle Up Bob.
And most importantly, safety.
You can do many things to communicate that you are slowing down. You can flip your hazards on.
Expect craziness like this all the time. 75% of these fatal accidents involving these trucks are with the first two, and it's the driving too fast and tailgating. If this driver hadn't slowed down, this could have been a whole different outcome.
Tune in weekdays from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. You can watch BCB Live through LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook. So what are you waiting for? Subscribe today and follow BCB Live.
Good morning, everybody. Hope you're having a great day here as we start out this Wednesday. We're going to look at some of the commutes that you may have this morning if you're in these cities. The first one we start out with is the Dallas DFW area. You can see a really on the eastbound lane here, it looks like right here at the corner of 820 there, and I believe this is 287, the merger. Big backup, probably an accident, looks like maybe there. So it looks like it's stretched almost all the way back to 35W. So expect a good 35 to 45 minute delay there, if not longer. Also, eastbound on 30 coming out of the Fort Worth area. Got a little bit of it's always a slowdown right there between the 820 loop and Arlington. So, again, just nothing unusual about that this morning. The DFW area, the loop looks pretty congested in spots, but this looks like typical normal traffic, rush hour traffic this morning as you head in the DFW area. Here we go, Kansas City. You can see the rain overlay, right? We've got some rain in Kansas City. And you can even see on the northbound loop, 435, we've got some major slowdown here, all the way from 78 up here to this 2935 merger. So, again, expect some problems if you're trying to head north on the loop. You might be best to stay on the southern part of it, 70, and then up and around. Because as you go up 2035, the northbound is open. The southbound coming into Kansas City has some congestion as well. Probably a lot of it has to do with the rain, as you can see. A lot of rain, a lot of dark purple, so some heavy spots at times as well. Chicago looks pretty good. I mean, again, we always have this Bolingbrook coming into the city there. Always seems to be a big backup all the way from just south of Bolingbrook all the way up to Darien. And that 55 merger, the 55, and I'm not sure which one that is. I guess the 80 come in there. But again, coming in from Indiana looks very good, and the loop looks pretty good for the most part, especially going on the southbound part of it. But the northbound, you'll run into some slowdowns as well, and a little bit of showers popping up in the Chicago area as well this morning. Philadelphia, New Jersey side again, major from 38 all the way down here to the 130 to the almost to the river. Be on the look, mindful that, hey, you're going to sit in some traffic for a long time there coming in on 295 from New Jersey. 76, some moderate slowdowns, but again, it's always that way coming into the city. And a little stretch over here from 13 up here to near 320. Highway 1 intersects. You got some pretty good traffic slowdowns both directions. You can see right in here near Swarthmore. You're going to expect to see some delays there as well. Atlanta. Atlanta looks pretty bad too. The southeastern loop, western loop down by the airport actually looks really good. But everywhere around the city's congested. The loop going around to the north. So again, hey, if you got a chance to sit out for a couple hours, it might be more efficient and safer to do so. Remember, you cannot go through on 20 inside the loop unless you're delivering. So you must take the loop around it. And it looks like the only good news is if you're coming in and you can go south. You do not want to go north or you're going to sit in some traffic. Pretty much looks like the entire loop has some major delays in Atlanta this morning. Nashville don't look too bad. Just a little bit here where 24 and 40 merge. You've got some slowdown, but everywhere else looks pretty nice. The Murfreesboro Pike looks good. 40 looks good coming in from both directions. A little bit of slowdown, 24 coming in from the north. So the southbound direction looks like right here at the merge, you're going to have some slowdown. And then coming in to the city of Nashville itself, expect some slowdowns. Our Baltimore, D.C. area, Baltimore, northern part of the loop there. Is that 695? 95, yeah, 695. And that you can see we've got some major traffic all the way from Overley to Pikesville and Lockern. And then it gets a little bit better in Woodlawn. 70 coming into Baltimore. You got a little bit of a delay there just south of Woodstock here and west of Ellicott City. And then coming into the D.C. area, just looks like normal traffic. The loop looks pretty congested all the way around. You've also got 95, the northbound direction. You're going to have some slowdowns here all the way from Woodridge, Lorton, up into Springfield and Lincolnia. You're going to see some problems there as well. So it looks like we're going to need a lot of patience today out here in the traffic. As we go to our weather, the winds let up a little bit, okay? So, but we still have some issues. So we've set out some geofences. And again, this Wyoming, just north of Denver here, a little section. You can see some 38-mile-an-hour gusts. So again, these areas, 48 in Rapid City, at the airport. So again, you've got to slow down. You've got to be under 55 miles an hour. We set up a geofence warning everybody. 48 gets right on that borderline. You probably should look at shutting down for an hour or two, and let's see if the winds don't just die down a little bit. But all in all, nothing like what we saw yesterday. So it's passable, but we've got a geofence set up here from Denver up into Wyoming and the Nebraska, South Dakota area. You got to be at 55 or less. So please slow down. The winds, don't magnify their force that they have behind them. And we also going to see some rain. I know here you can see this line, Oklahoma City. Let's see what we're getting right now. Yeah, Oklahoma City, you're getting hit hard. There is a flash flood warning for North Texas. Started this morning through tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. So again, we're expecting 2 to 3 inches of rain in some spots here. Much needed rain, but we're going to get it all at once, which is not the ideal thing. So again, you can see Oklahoma City stretching up. We saw it in Kansas City as well. And a big arc here from Iowa City back in the Dakotas. And right here is where that wind mass is, right? Just pushing that storm system. So again, be ready for if you're heading north on that 35 from Oklahoma City to Kansas City, you're going to see some heavy rain. Got to slow down. Remember, hydroplaning starts at 40 miles an hour for the most part. It can happen at any time with puddles, but typically during the rain event itself, 40 miles an hour, you start to increase your risk of hydroplaning. And always remember, you got to not worry about you as much as the people around you, because the four-wheelers don't slow down. And if they hit one of those puddles that you can go through, they're still going to spin out in you, and we want to protect all lives. So you can do that by slowing down and maybe even slowing them down. And the ones that are going to speed, they're going to speed, but they're going to be past you, so you don't have to worry about hitting them. So please slow down, increase that spacing in these areas. As you can see, the storms are going to be heavy. As we go through the day, I believe it's just going to get worse for the next 24 to 36 hours. There you can see it starts to really, as this thing pushes southeastward, the DFW starts around 2 p.m., so a little bit after noon today we should start to see some rain, and it looks like it's going to stretch all the way down to San Antonio area, as well as you can see moving towards Houston, Piedras Negras. Also we'll see some, so you can see it's a pretty long line as it moves into Arkansas. And as always with these storms, you have to watch out for the possibility of tornadoes. And again, you can see the red just doesn't really disappear. So the rain is just going to be, it looks like maybe even a total of 9 inches potential. Doubt that we'll see 9, but again, they got some flash flood warnings for the entire North Texas from Dallas to the Red River and up into Oklahoma as we go through the day. So we want to watch that. Our wind gusts, as you can see, they do die down as the day goes. So we're going to see about the peak at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Again, we have the geofence set up here. It runs from Denver up to the Dakotas and over to Iowa. So you can see even in Minnesota, you can see some issues today as well. So near Rapid City, right, they're going to expect some 60-mile-an-hour gusts, I believe. See if we can get one there. Nope. But too close to the city. But we'll, just be ready for that if you're in them areas. There you go, 60-mile-an-hour gusts potential. Just what we saw yesterday in New Mexico and Arizona. So again, it's moved up in the north of Minnesota. As you can see, everything's up in the 40s, and then you got the 50s and the 60s in Nebraska. So we've got to slow down, get off the road if it gets above 45 wind gusts, folks. They can blow you over no matter how heavy you are. Hey, we're going to take a little break and be right back with some safety.
Hey everybody, and welcome back. Man, it is windy, and it was windy, big winds
Yes.
yesterday. A lot of winds going on today as that front moves across the country. We're going to see some of its effect here this afternoon in the Dallas-Fort Worth area as the cool air pushes some of that moisture out of the air. And boy, it was tornadic. Some of those winds yesterday, wasn't it?
Yes, it were. We had some 97 miles per hour reported gusts in Trinidad, Colorado,
That's
right
crazy.
there just north of the New Mexico border. So again, we had the fleets shut down for several hours, you know, as you might imagine, because the winds just weren't letting up. And so again, everybody's moving, but we do have some speed restrictions up there in that Denver and north into Wyoming. All of Nebraska, South Dakota, you've got to be under 55 if you're going to be driving, because it's anywhere from 38 to 42 mile an hour gusts being reported right now. They are drivable, but you've got to slow down. You just got to treat it with a lot of respect.
Yeah, I mean, and we've had trucks blow over, right?
Yes.
So it's not something that we are just. It is a real thing. It does happen, and it can happen in a second. And the great news is that when they usually reach those high winds and they're going that fast, it moves through the area rather quickly. I mean,
Yes.
especially the most intense winds. They come through. They may affect that region for an hour or two, and then you know what? Then you're back to a breeze, and you're back to able to run again. So you just got to be a little bit patient, right? As we talk about
Yes, you
it.
do. And again, the area has the potential. And what's really hard about the wind is you may have only a little 1 mile area that's really got the big heavy winds, but the potential in the area is there. You know, I sent messages yesterday and today, you know, drivers doing 65,
Right.
66 miles, 68.
Absolutely.
You got to slow it down. I get it that it doesn't seem windy where you're at, but you're in an area that's going to, these microbursts come out of nowhere.
Absolutely. You
And
don't wanna
that's
be-
what you've got to be protective about.
All right.
All right. Hey, this week, and again, we're talking about, oddly enough, it's amazing how timing works sometimes, but we're going to expect a lot of rain, and our third driving weather issue is the rain. Again, we mention all the time that typically statistics show that hydroplaning starts around 40 miles an hour. The risk starts getting to be real. Of course, you can hydroplane at 5 miles an hour if the water is deep enough, right? But typically during the rainstorms and the heavy rain, around 40 miles an hour, you start to increase your risk of hydroplaning, and that's for the big trucks. So just like we say, the speed limit signs are for the four-wheelers, and that the trucks have to even be slower. It works kind of just the opposite in the rain and the hydroplaning. The trucks can get through some things that the four-wheelers can't, but as we've seen in a lot of the videos, you all have the opportunity to slow traffic down. Now, you're not going to slow the idiots down. They're going to pass you whether you're doing 60 or whether you're doing 40. They're going to fly. But the difference is if you're going slower, you have more space and time to react when they lose control, because they're going to lose control. If they're driving 65, 70 miles an hour in heavy rain and you're driving 55 because of the risk of hydroplaning, they're going to hit a puddle somewhere, and you just got to make sure that you've created that space to where you're not going to be involved in that accident.
And as you talk about rain, and I like to talk about rain because when we talk about safety, because rain has its own definitive set of challenges, and there are many different types of rain that we encounter. It's not always just the heavy downpour. You can have, rain can affect many things. Not only can it affect your visibility, right, in being able to see very far or knowing what's ahead. And not only change the surface of the road, correct? I mean, it can create an environment. Hydroplaning. All hydroplaning is when the tire no longer touches the road. When there is water between the tire and the surface of the road. That's all hydroplaning is.
Mm-hmm.
And we have grooves in tires designed to channel that water so that rubber can continue to meet the road. But when you move fast enough or when it's deep enough, it does not allow enough of it to kick out. So that's
Correct.
really all hydroplaning is. It's
That's
just that when we no longer can make contact with the road and we lose friction.
Mm-hmm.
And when we lose friction, we lose it. And there's many ways. And we talk about it, Bobby, even a very light rain or a rain that just passed through you're fixing to go into that hit the road, oil can come up
Yes.
and not mix with the water, but ride atop of the surface of it and create a very slick environment. You have so many different challenges when you talk about rain, and rain is probably the most adverse weather condition that every driver will encounter.
Yeah, and the thing, a lot of people associate snow, right, and ice with the fatal accidents and stuff, and they happen. But as we gave on Monday, during the snow, on average, yearly, 900 people, right? But in the rain, and this just shows, I think, for the lack of respect for the rain, because it's not that snow and ice, but 3,400 people, more than that, on average, die a year in fatal crashes that were during rainstorms. And about 357,000 are injured. And again, these numbers are way above the 976,000, the 900 killed and the 76,000 injured in snow.
Right.
So it just shows that, hey, when the snow starts falling on the ice, we kind of take notice a little bit more.
Correct.
But we kind of just accept the rain and not realize that it's more dangerous because people just don't slow down. I think is the big reason. And again, some of the most dangerous states in rain, and I gave them both today on the email, but the first one is the rate per million miles. And so West Virginia was number 1 with 34 fatalities, 34.5 per million. Mississippi, 31. Alabama, 28. And South Carolina, Kentucky kind of tied at 27.5. But what was neat was when you go to the total number of fatalities, well, it's not really neat, but Alabama and South Carolina still make that list, with 114 and 106. But Georgia has 142 on average fatalities during rain events every year. North Carolina, number 2 at 134. So all 4 of these states have it in the hundreds per year that die due to fatalities or due to the rain. So it's just one of the things where I think there's a little lack of respect for what can happen out there when the rain. Everybody just treats it as rain. Well, it's not snow or ice, so the roads aren't slick. Well, as you said, that's just not the case. Sometimes it's worse.
Absolutely, and we need to be genuinely prepared to encounter those environments. And I always say how important it is that your wipers work well.
Yes.
I mean, you got to be able to see what's going on. You got to be able to make sure. And we tend to let go of not changing out the wiper. We wait until it's just bad, right? And really what we need to do is wipers have a lifespan. They need to be just like tires. They need to be used through their lifespan, and when they're done, they need to be changed, just like a tire.
Yep.
So when they wear out and they no longer, clean the road, and cleaning your windshield is important because ice and bugs destroy blades.
Yes.
Foreign particles destroy blades.
Great.
So, anyway, we have a lot going on. I don't mean that we could talk all day on rain, but go ahead, Bob.
No.
I apologize.
No, those are great points. And I was just going to say, how many drivers ask yourself, how many times when you do your pre-trip do you look at the windshield wiper fluid reservoir, right? We're coming in the winter months. You're going to need that for visibility. That has to be every day, but it's especially important this time of year as we move into the winter months. Please check that. And as we've got some videos this morning to look at, this first one, again, OV is tailgating, right? And then just back off, right? Here comes this truck. Getting right up, and you can see the speed reduction from this driver. Great job. Let them go.
We got a couple of crazies going on.
Yeah,
in this
you got
video.
that pickup truck jumps 2.
And then jumps 2 again.
Yep. And comes right back in.
Boom. Look
and
at
all
that.
the way to the left.
We got a NASCAR guy going around the outside turn, and then
empty flatbed,
and then you got a
low boy.
Step deck.
Step deck. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I knew I'd get terminology wrong.
You did great. No, we did great.
Here again, we're going to have somebody passing in a no passing zone. UPS, right? Can't do this. And I think this looks just like the same stretch of highway that we see a lot of this going on. 287, yep.
Yeah, up in Colorado.
Yep. And so, again, we've got to know your situation. Hey, people are going to do this. Back off, let them go, but great job by this driver not doing it.
Is that up by 2 Butte? I'm just curious.
Hugo.
Oh, Hugo, okay. But not far.
Yep. Here's another one locally, right? Just owning the space in front. Doesn't try to find the faster lane as traffic checks up. Able to stop. We talk about all the time. This is the perfect defensive driving maneuver. Look at all the traffic that goes flying by if they would have tried to make the quick lane change, right? You have to drive for the situation, but not to be able to change a lane, but to be able to stop, because that is the safest option for you.
Good video, Bob.
Yeah, this is awesome. Great job by that driver. Start slowing a little bit sooner, but again, got some great speed and space. You can see everybody trying to get off. Just a good job. Able to look at the spacing we had when this driver had when they actually did stop to avoid the accident. Just a tremendous job at being defensive there.
Do you honk here?
No.
No. Okay,
No.
I'm just asking.
Do not honk. It is a sign of road rage. I think I seen that this morning too. Here again, stale green. Look at the driver slowing down.
Great job.
Just tremendous. Great job. That probably gets us, Sir Rick says, the BCB, right? Video of the day or
stale green light out there.
Stale green.
Stale green and
goes
there
to
it
yellow.
is. Oh,
you know, now a lot of drivers would say, hey, I got a point of no return. But this is what we were talking about. When the speed is right and you're preparing for that, there is really a very small point of no return. And this driver basically almost eliminated it just by being prepared to stop.
Good job.
Tremendous job, driver. And this next one, stop sign. Hey, don't forget, intersections are the most dangerous. These aren't even got lights. So come to a complete stop. We have seen a rash of turns, accidents and turns where we're not getting, we're not taking the time to look both ways a couple of times, making sure there's nobody coming. So you want to avoid the rolling stops, right? So good videos all in all, drive safe. But, we see a lot of drivers doing that defensive posture. Love the light where, man, being prepared to stop. There was no point of no return. He was preparing to stop.
Yeah, and let me just tell you, those stop signs aren't a suggestion.
No.
They're not a recommendation.
They're not yield.
They're not. No, they're not. They are there for a reason. They're there to make sure that you out there on the road come to a complete stop before you can, and making sure that it's clear before you can proceed. That's period. That's the rule. That's the law, and you must abide by it. And we want you to. We've had an accident. I think our very last, what ended the last streak, right, Bob?
The DOT reportable.
The DOT
streak, yep.
reportable was us not coming to a complete stop at a stop sign and rolling the stop sign and having an accident. And it was completely preventable.
Yes.
And we were at fault with that. And you know what? It's real. It happens. Look, nobody intended on the accident to happen, but those signs are there for a reason. I get you were rolling slow, but that is not stop, right,
No.
Bob? That is not stop. Stop is just stop. And then proceed when the intersection is clear to do so. You know what? It gives you that extra moment to look both left and right and left again and make sure nothing's hidden behind those mirrors and those big West Coast mirrors that you have. Make sure that what you're doing, you know what? Failure to obey traffic signs is a big deal. It is a big deal. And it doesn't matter what signs out there, what you're doing and what you're looking at. It's important. And truck drivers know more signs, see more signs, understand more signs, and have that gift of gab when it comes to road signs. And I'm telling you, you need to follow what they're doing. They're there to protect you, and they're there to protect everyone around you. And I see a roll stop. It's just upsetting to know that we didn't take the time to just come to a complete stop.
And I want, over the years, conversations with the drivers, the one thing that always sticks out is that a lot of drivers will have what I call a double standard. In other words, when you're talking to them about something they did wrong, well, I'm human, I make mistakes. And they're 100% right. But you can't throw that aside when, okay, you roll through a stop and you didn't see somebody. The human mistake is, I didn't see him. The choice mistake was, well, you didn't see him because you didn't give yourself enough time.
Correct.
But if you'd have completely stopped, you would have take all the time you need, look 2, 3, 4 times. We saw in that intersection, it was pretty dark. I've seen people with one headlight, right? Or people without headlights. Yeah. And it's like, but we've seen people run these things. And so it's just one of those things where, hey, you're right. People make mistakes. But there's the human mistake, that, hey, I looked, but I didn't see anybody. And there's the one where you make the conscious mistake of, okay, stop means stop, but I'm not, right? Yeah. And that's the thing that leads to it. And that's what I want every driver to kind of just look internally and say, hey, did I do everything the right way, right? You're going to make mistakes, but you got to stop when stop says stop.
Got Dylan.
Yeah, we got Cool Dude on the line. What do you got for
What's
us,
up,
sir?
Warren?
Morning, Cool Dude.
Hey, yeah. What you doing, Bobtastic? Drive safe, Dave. Hope you guys are having a good morning. What I was going to throw out there is most of your four-wheelers don't even read the signs.
Yep.
I mean, they're driving like it was like 2 weeks ago. It's funny you guys are talking about this. I asked my wife, we're driving down the highway. I feel like I'm in a NASCAR car, holding on to the rail and everything. And I asked her, I said, "What that sign say back there?" "I don't know." I don't read the signs. Nobody pays attention to signs. You can't expect cars and pickup trucks and stuff to pay attention to the signs, In our life, it's our life, our livelihood. So we read the signs, the yellow signs, the information signs, speed limit signs, no trucks left lane signs. We read all that. We get it. We drive the way you're supposed to. But don't expect everybody else around you to be doing the same thing. That's all I wanted to say. Thanks, guys. Have a great morning.
Hey, thanks,
Great
Warren.
point.
Appreciate
Warren.
it.
Awesome.
All right. Hey, you got another one? You said you
Yeah,
had
we
one
got
more?
Curtis Benedict. What do you got for
What's
us?
going on, Curtis?
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
You guys were talking about like New Jersey and New York. Well, I had the absolute pleasure of going to New Jersey yesterday and delivering, and you were talking about everybody using their horns and stuff. Well, I just figured out that that's they're way up there in the Northeast. Just tell the other person that they love them. Just, hey, love you too. I heard more horns going off yesterday, and I was just like, what is going on? Just slow down, people. And so then I got done delivering, went to a Love's off of 95 just south of New York City, and of course they're out of power, but didn't know that until I pulled into the fuel island, and the driver next to me is having a meltdown because there's no power. And I tell you what, I never laughed so hard in my entire life watching a grown man cuss Loves because they don't have power because somebody else ran into an electric pole and cut the power off to them. I just like, dude, I hope you're not going to drive because you don't need to be driving. You are way too angry at life right now. But I tell you what, I got a kick out of it. It was...
That's when you walk over and said, you know what you need? You need to tune into BCB Live.
Oh, well, you might want to wait till he's through after his tantrum. You might want to stay away from that.
I got what would help you.
But you make a great point, and we don't know, and that happens out there on the road. You don't know where people are. You don't know where they're at. You don't know what's going on with them individually. You don't know what's going on with them personally. You don't know what happened to this guy before this incident. Normally, he probably wouldn't be this way. Normally, he would 99.99% of the time. This guy would have done just what all the rest of us do, but something else was going on. There was more to the story, and you can't see but anything that happens there, and we've got to pay attention to that and understand that out there on the road, you're going to encounter people at different moments in their time. Unfortunately, we don't get to choose when we come into contact with individuals out there on the road. We don't get to choose that feeling that they have, that best moment they have. We get them as they come, right, Bob? We get to meet people where they are and what they have, and we have to understand that when we do that, it is a potluck dinner, and you get what you get.
That's why you have to control. We have a saying at this seminar that I went to is like, draw a circle around yourself and fix everything in the circle. And that's really what you got to do when you're out here, right? You don't know what that guy's have. So what you can control is what you do, right? And you don't have to add to that. So you're right. They have
Bob,
stories.
you want to close with a quick prayer?
We sure do. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we ask that you grant each and every one of us today the patience to, as your command says, love one another, be respectful of each other, and just show compassion towards each other, Lord. Let us help one another. When one falls or stumbles, let's lift each other up, Heavenly Father. Lord, protect these drivers as they go through their day. Help them make them good, courteous and decisions out there, and the ones that save life. Lord, as these winds kick up and the rains come, help them to be aware of the situation and to slow down. Return home to their loved ones, Heavenly Father, who are waiting home anxiously for them each and every day. Lord, we ask all of this in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
All right. Amen, everybody. And hey, do us a favor. Be safe, be kind, and be considerate out there on the road today. And we'll see you at 2:15 back here at BCB Live.